The story begins with young kids sparring and training. Sarah Scott, full of energy, swings her sword with passion. Leth, our main character, calls her his sister, though it is the kind of thing every child says when they are young, not realizing how time will change that bond. Leth, unlike her, is a lazy guy who tries to block her sword half-heartedly, asking her to slow down because it already feels too much for him. Sarah refuses, saying they have to push themselves if they want to become holy knights. To her, this much drill is nothing, and their efforts will eventually pay off. They take a short break, and Leth asks her if all this training really has any meaning. Sarah pauses for a moment, then replies with simple certainty that the more they train, the stronger they will become. He cannot really understand her logic, but instead of arguing, he joins her as they dig into their food. After eating, Leth speaks again, this time more serious. He says the citizens of the 4th Division live in poverty and do everything they can just to survive. His words change the tone, settling heavier than their earlier fight, while Sarah quietly takes them in. In this world, when someone turns 18, the gods grant everyone a class such as Blade Master, Mage, Farmer, Merchant, and many others. Those who awaken as farmers or merchants cannot become adventurers, and no matter how hard they train, it is almost impossible for them to surpass people with combat-oriented classes. While Leth is explaining this, Sarah suddenly swings at him without warning. He quickly dodges and asks what she is doing. With a playful smile, she assures him that he will be fine and that he will definitely awaken a stronger class. She pulls him back into training, but deep down Leth still feels uneasy. Soon after, time skips forward just like in Naruto or One Piece, where children suddenly grow into teenagers. Now they are walking through a lively town filled with chatter and celebration, because today is the day of the class blessing. Leth admits that he hardly slept at all last night because of the nerves. At a food stall, a man recognizes him as the Duke's son and encourages him to do well in the ceremony. That small moment shows what kind of person Leth is, a noble with a kind heart who feels worthy enough to stand as a protagonist. When they finally step inside the church, they see the entire hall crowded with people. Some of them are smiling brightly because they awakened powerful combat-oriented classes, while others already look crushed by the weight of receiving only ordinary roles. Suddenly, Duke Wellesley appears and the whole church erupts in excitement because he is the holy knight of the land. The man everyone looks up to as if he stepped straight out of a legend. Sarah quickly notices someone lingering behind him and asks Leth who it is. Leth explains that the boy is his half-brother Kite, born from a different mother in the poor 4th Division. Their father never recognized him, but if Kite awakens a strong class today, everything could change. The ceremony of class distributions begins, and it is Kite first who goes to the stage. He places his hand on the crystal, and it reveals the class symbol of Holy Knight. Everyone is shocked, even his dumb self, because the Knight class is extremely rare, only 1 in 10,000 get it. While it is more likely to have the same class as one's parents, the chances are still slim. Yet somehow, this pathetic bastard gets chosen as a Holy Knight. Talk about plot armor. His so-called father suddenly acts brand new, stepping on stage with happiness and praising him, even calling him my son. Kite gets pissed, because it is the first time Duke calls him his son, and the ugly truth is, Dad is only happy because he finally has a useful child. Next is Sarah's turn. She looks anxious but still calmly places her hand on the crystal. It reveals she is also a Holy Knight. Her whole family surrounds her and celebrates her new class, like she just pulled a 5-star in Genshin. The next is our boy's turn, and he is as anxious as is his final term exams. He steps towards the stage, while his father coldly warns him not to disappoint him. Sarah tries to encourage him, and Leth hypes himself up, believing that since 2 rare classes appeared today, he will also shine. He thinks he will seize power with his own hands, and finally become powerful. He places his hand on the crystal with high hopes, then opens his eyes to see absolutely nothing happen. This idiot stands frozen, questioning the old priestman what the meaning of this is. The priest casually announces that Leth's class is jobless, leaving our poor boy traumatized. Even Sarah cannot believe the result. Back in Wellesley residence, Duke Wellesley summons him and officially nullifies their relationship as father and son. In short, Leth is kicked out of the family, while pathetic Kite is now considered the eldest. Leth is given just 1 hour to leave the residence, tossed aside like trash. After hearing this heartless announcement, he leaves the room broken, while drowning in trauma. In the pub, Sarah, her family, and the rest are busy celebrating her class with excitement. Everyone is hyped that 2 knights awakened this time, but at the same time they cannot help throwing pity looks at Duke's son. Obviously, our boy. People had been anticipating something big from him, but instead he flopped and got stamped with jobless. Some random guy in the corner mentions he saw Leth leaving town. Sarah instantly drops her drink and rushes outside to chase him. Meanwhile, Leth is already on his way out, walking like a broken man, and tries to convince himself he should find a job, but reality hits hard. With no skills and no class, he's about as useless as Sakura trying to fight Madara. That is why he decides to become a cargo boy, while Sarah is still desperately looking for him. Leth is leaving town deep in thought, completely lost in his trauma arc, looking more pathetic than an NPC side quest reject. Leth hops on a cargo ride and of course, things immediately start going downhill. When they stop for a break, the sturdy guards guarding the cargo decide to clown on him for fun. One guy throws an apple at the ground, calling it commoner food, and says Leth can have it if he wants. They even mock him, doubting if his noble taste buds can handle it. The pathetic part is Leth actually picks up the dirty apple off the ground and takes a bite, looking like a beggar. While chewing, he starts his pity monologue about how he is carrying cargo instead of a sword, and wonders how much lower he can possibly sink. Spoiler, lower. Later they stop again, and one guard gives a dramatic warning about how the forest ahead is dangerous. Before he can finish his lecture, an arrow pierces his forehead and he drops dead instantly. Bro did not even get to complete his foreshadowing. It turns out to be a bandit attack, and the long-haired leader and his gang slaughter every escort who come in their way. Now Leth, our coward hero, cannot handle being this pathetic anymore. He decides to finally act like the protagonist he thinks he is. He charges in with a sword, convinced that practicing swordsmanship somehow means he is not powerless without a class. The long-haired leader barely even blinks, smacks him away with one hand, and knocks him out cold. Straight up embarrassing. Yet Leth copies Naruto's will and drags himself back up. He thinks, if not me, then who? As if anyone asked him. The leader just looks down at him, realizing this idiot is not even a worthy opponent. He is just a nuisance, like a bug that refuses to die. Leth is standing there with shattered stamina and out-of-breath lungs. A little girl asks her dad what a class even is. The dad, who is just a merchant, explains that God gives everyone a class at 18. He says merchants handle trading, blade masters fight and protect people, and farmers grow crops. The little girl then looks at Leth, who is wheezing like an asthma patient, and wonders if he is a blade master. Someone please tell her this idiot is classless before she embarrasses herself further. The bandit leader activates a skill called Physical Boost to increase his strength and rushes forward. Leth blocks the strike but notices his sword is already chipping. Before he can do anything, the leader grabs him, flips him over, and kicks him in the face. Leth is finally cornered and exposed as weak. The leader now realizes this clown is no blade master, just a wannabe trying too hard. When the leader turns away and tells his buddy to finish him, Leth hears the little girl crying for him. Suddenly he gets that anime boost of courage, pulls out another dagger, and steps forward as he is about to do something. The leader just smirks and says he can block this blindfolded. Leth throws a punch at his gut that feels like punching a titan's foot with bare hands. The audacity is crazy. He even dares to tell the leader his abilities are not impressive. That ticks the leader off. He stops holding back, unleashes his full kicks, and beats Leth into the dirt. However, that is exactly when Leth's pathetic luck finally decides to turn. Out of nowhere, he hears a voice saying his skills, Physique Boost and Blade Boost, have been unlocked. Instead of questioning how the hell this even happened, his first dumb thought is wondering who the voice actor is. This idiot is fighting for his life and still thinking about casting. He activates the skills immediately, dodges the incoming strike, and stabs the bandit leader right in the neck with his dagger. The wannabe ninja from the gang tries to jump in but gets folded instantly, stabbed right in the forehead like he was built out of cardboard. Another sturdy guy decides to test his luck, rushing Leth from behind. Our boy just snatches his hammer and smacks him with it, sending him straight to the Shadow Realm. Just like that, the loser who was getting beaten to a pulp 2 minutes ago suddenly flips the entire fight. After defeating those bandits, the little girl rushes at Leth's back, hugging him while crying and saying she was so scared. Even her daddy shows up and thanks him for saving them. He asks if Leth's class was offensive all along, but our boy just declines because truth is he has no clue what the hell happened. The only thing he remembers is punching that bandit boss, suddenly hearing God's voice in his head, and then boom, new skill unlocked. He passed the little girl's head in relief, but then the old man clears his throat and Leth pulls his hand back in panic. Bro looked like he just got caught trying to pull up a girl. The old man says he wants to return the favor and offers him anything, whether it's money, connections, or favors. Honestly, the way this dude is talking, it sounds like one of those anime cliches where he might even throw his daughter into the deal. Hearing his insistence, Leth finally admits there is something he wants to know and says he would appreciate his help. We see the same old man with personality same as Dumbledore, busy scribbling some retired nerd who thinks paperwork is endgame content. An assistant approaches and tells him that a man has come requesting a class reassessment. The old man, already cranky, clearly does not want to deal with another idiot wasting his time, but the assistant insists, saying the guy bears a letter from one of his friends. Old man turns around in surprise with expressions. Wait, I still got friends alive? Later, Leth shows up and presents the letter, explaining everything that happened with the bandits. The old man reads it and admits he was actually friends with Leth's old daddy decades ago. He has not seen him in forever, but he is glad his friend is still doing fine and somehow lucky enough to survive. Leth is shocked, realizing the old man standing before him is Augustinus, the kingdom's archbishop. Our boy, who's been facing disappointments, finally hits a jackpot moment instead of another trauma dump. Anyways, he comes to business and explains that they do not normally do the reassessment of the class, but since it is a request from his old friend, he cannot reject it. He pulls out his class revealing crystal and warns Leth not to get his hopes high because it has never been wrong. Basically, he is telling him not to expect miracles because a jobless clown is still a clown. Leth places his hand on the crystal and, as expected, nothing happens. No class symbol, no shine, just a big reminder that he is still useless. But then Augustinus notices something unusual. 2 skills appear, physique boost and blade boost. The old fossil almost drops his cup because this is the first time he has seen a jobless brat actually pull combat skills. Farmers and merchants cannot touch this kind of stuff, yet somehow Leth, the discount protagonist, got them. Leth, still confused, asks what his class even is. Augustinus just sips his chai with smug grandpa energy and refuses to explain anything. Then he suddenly remembers a record from the past and drags him into the archive chambers. He shows him a book about a man with no class who could mimic other people's skills. If Leth has the same ability, then it explains why the crystal does not give him a class. Leth recalls the event from the other day and tells the old man that he unlocked those skills after fighting the bandits. The old man actually believes him, though he admits the finer details are unclear. Since he has no way to confirm it, he tells Leth he will have to figure it out on his own. Leth leaves with some relief, knowing someone in the past also had clown-tier circumstances like him. As he walks through the town, he thinks about needing to learn more about this strange power. But with no solid plan, he just decides becoming a knight is the only way forward. Leth goes to the guild nearby and actually manages to enroll for the knight exam that will be held the day after tomorrow. Before he leaves, the receptionist tells him to bring the application form on that day. In town, his eyes fall on the yummiest skewer alive, and this idiot immediately buys it. He praises it so loudly that even random strangers know he is a foodie. He looks around, notices powerful-looking people flexing their aura, and decides he needs to practice until the exam. Then boom, Sarah shows up out of breath, means she just ran a marathon to follow him, and tells him she finally caught up. Her deadly expression makes it seem like she is about to kill him, so Leth panics and starts preparing his excuses. Instead, she jumps on him and hugs him with tears in her eyes, confessing she thought he was dead or had pulled a pathetic suicide protagonist move. Leth understands her point and apologizes, but before anything, he tells her to chill because everyone around them is staring. If the crowd was General Z, they would be yelling, "Bro, get a room." Sarah gets embarrassed and drags him away from the public scene. There, he sincerely apologizes, realizing she must have been shocked that he dipped without saying a word. He explains how he had to work as a cargo boy to earn money, and when the job got ambushed by bandits, he somehow gained skills. Sarah's excitement hits max level, and she asks if he is planning to take the night exam. Our boy, trying to act cool, confirms it. Sarah basically just unlocked supportive waifu mode. She drags him over to a huge boulder and tells him to prove himself by cutting it down. Leth, acting cocky with just 2 skills, leaps up with physique boost and swings with blade boost, slicing the rock in half. Sure, it breaks as expected, but the cut is sloppy compared to Tanjiro's clean slice and Demon Slayer. Sarah is impressed that this clown actually pulled it off and admits he might pass the night exam with those skills. Then she flexes her own power. Pulling out her sword, she swings it with so much force it feels like a dragon just flapped its wings. Leth stands there realizing he is still mid-tier compared to her. Sarah remembers he got his skills after punching bandits, so she tells him to put out his hand. They fist bump and unlock Celestial Boost and Celestial Blade. Our boy is shocked and asks if she is sure, and she calmly says yes, hoping it will help him in the exam. She even adds that she will be waiting at the nightly order. Instead of acting like a proper protagonist and dropping a bold line saying, "I'll repay you by marrying you," this idiot just blurts out a plain thanks. Pathetic. In the imperial capital, a man named Roger watches the knight candidates from high above. He mutters that there are a lot of them as usual, but none have caught his eye yet, and he doubts if they even have what it takes to become knights. His assistant reminds him that knighthood is one of the highest positions in the kingdom, something only a select few with combat classes can ever achieve. Roger smirks, acting as Goldie Roger himself, and descends to the training ground with a larger-than-life presence. He introduces himself as the training officer and examiner for the night exam. He tells them he knows each of them has their own reasons for being here, but none of that matters. Only those with real skill will make it through. Passing this exam earns them the title of ninth, which is equivalent to a baron, though he laughs at how pathetic it sounds because it is nothing more than the starting line. If they prove themselves, they can climb through their contributions and eventually become aristocrats. Roger makes it clear, this place runs on pure merit, no nepotism, no favors, and no cheating. He raises his hand with the confidence of a final boss, and the candidates cheer in raw hype, ready to begin the trial. Haughty assistant scans through the stack of forms, until she stops at Leth's. She notices the section for class is completely blank and calls him out to fix it. Leth casually raises his hand and explains that the form is correct, since his oracle didn't give him a class at all. The whole room low-key gasps, because who shows up to a night exam with a resume that literally says, "Jobless?" Hottie narrows her eyes and asks how he even plans to compete. To be a knight, one needs offensive skills like a blade master or mage, and those are leagues above a guy with nothing. Leth just smirks and says he knows how to fight, so that's all he needs. The audacity of this idiot has both Roger and Hottie staring with wide eyes. Roger bursts into laughter and says, this reckless bastard has actually piqued his interest, so he allows him to take part. Hottie, reluctantly impressed, also nods to let him through. Just when the mood is about to settle, some wannabe villain with main character hating energy barges in, mocking the exam itself. He sneers that the standards must have dropped if they're letting a classless simpleton like Leth participate. He is rich antagonist, who thinks highly of himself and always end up smearing disrespect on his face. Roger has no clue who this loudmouth even is, until Hottie leans in and informs him that the wannabe villain is Logan Bentley, an aristocrat. Logan immediately starts running his mouth, bullying Leth and claiming there is no way a jobless scrub like him can become a knight. He even threatens to smack him if he doesn't stay in line. Leth, being the king of petty ignores, doesn't even acknowledge him. Instead, he calmly turns toward the examiners and asks if he is allowed to participate. When they nod, Logan's ego gets bruised harder than Yamcha in a crater. Furious, he barks at Leth, only for Leth to drop the savage line that he doesn't have space in his brain for irrelevant stuff. Logan loses his temper and goes to unsheath his sword, while Leth instinctively does the same. But Roger steps in to catch two kids that are about to fight before recess. He asks who exactly told them the exam had already started. Logan, red-faced and humiliated, pulls back with a fake apology and storms off to his squad, swearing he'll make Leth pay later. Leth just shrugs and returns to his position, unbothered. Meanwhile, Roger is secretly hyped. Logan looks capable, sure, but he's not sure the guy has room to grow. Leth, however, actually managed to land damage on Roger's hand earlier, even when he had his physique boost active. That shock makes Roger reconsider and admit that this year's exam might actually be worth watching. After the preparations are done, all the applicants gather in one spot while Roger steps forward to explain the rules. He tells them that the test is a real combat scenario but not a fight to the death. Each applicant will wear a ring of divine protection, which creates a barrier that can block a certain amount of damage. The rule is simple. Whoever breaks the opponent's barrier first wins. The atmosphere grows tense, and the exam officially begins. The first round is between Leth and Logan. Roger personally gives them the rings, makes sure they are strapped on, and signals the start. Logan, coming from a mage lineage, shows off immediately by activating his magical skill, Fire Lance. He launches a blast of fire so fast it shocks even Roger. Everyone expects Leth to be roasted alive, but he slices through the attack with ease, leaving the crowd stunned. Even Leth is surprised at himself, realizing that Celestial Boost has increased his reflexes and strength enough to defend against such powerful magic. Logan grits his teeth and throws another fireball, but once again Leth cuts it down like nothing. Logan's arrogance begins to crack, and he grudgingly admits that Leth is actually skilled. Still, he cannot accept how someone without a class is managing this. He convinces himself that it must be some kind of trick, because in his mind, a jobless can never outshine a top-tier aristocrat mage. His face twists in disbelief until he looks like a stone statue straight out of Solo Leveling. Frozen in shock as Leth keeps deflecting his pride, Logan goes full drama queen and pulls out thousands of fire lances in the air, aiming them all at Leth. He smirks, bragging that blocking one fireball was luck, but blocking 1,000 is impossible. He launches them all at once with enough power to rival an atomic bomb. Roger gets nervous, thinking the rings of divine protection might not hold against this, and is about to stop the match. But then, his jaw drops. Leth steps forward with aura of the true protagonist he is, activates Celestial Blade, and slices through the entire barrage. The arena falls silent before the crowd erupts in disbelief. Everyone is shocked, realizing he is using the skill of a holy knight even though he is supposed to be jobless. Logan, once cocky, finally starts sweating and wonders why none of his overpowered attacks are working. In desperation, Logan screams at Leth not to get cocky and pulls out his so-called trump card, Dragon Breath. A massive dragon-shaped wave of fire roars forward, scorching everything in its path. For a moment, when Leth doesn't reappear, Logan smirks and declares victory, but the clown spoke too soon. Leth leaps out of the flames unscathed, shoots upward and charges straight at him. Logan panics and tries to fire again, but it is too late. Leth smashes a punch into his gut so hard he folds like cheap paper, then follows up with another strike that slams him into the ground. In this howl, Logan's aura and his pride shatters in just one fight. Roger raises his hand and proudly declares Leth the winner of the match. Everyone is floored seeing the Celestial Blade in action for the very first time. As Leth walks off the stage, he suddenly hears the system voice telling him he has obtained all of Logan's fire skills, probably thanks to the clean gut punch he landed on him. Meanwhile, Logan is lying around looking more embarrassed than injured, which honestly makes Leth feel a bit relieved, since it was his first time using Holy Knight skills and he had little control over them. Passing by Roger, Leth notices the old man staring at him with warm eyes, clearly impressed and already pinning hopes on him as he is Leth's foster father. Roger is about to announce the next match when Logan, still salty and humiliated, regains consciousness. Instead of shutting up, the bastard starts barking accusations, claiming Leth cheated. He argues that Leth faked being jobless when he is secretly a holy knight, calling it an act against the knight's code of chivalry. The worst part? His whining actually starts to get into people's heads. The other applicants, already jealous, begin murmuring that maybe Logan is right. After all, how could someone without a class use the powers of a holy knight? The confusion spreads through the arena. Haughty assistant, looking stressed, asks Roger what they should do now. Should they let the accusation slide or cancel everything? Roger, with his usual cool demeanor, raises his hand and says the match will be put on hold until things are clarified. But before Roger can drag things out, Princess Iris herself steps onto the battlefield, her presence shutting everyone up instantly. She looks like a carbon copy of Vladilena Marise from '86, and her aura alone makes the entire crowd bend the knee. Leth, on the other hand, is sweating bullets, wondering why the princess of the Lawrence Empire is suddenly meddling in his mess. She meets his eyes and gives him a confident smile that almost makes him forget where he is. With a calm but sharp voice, she declares that Leth has no class, and yet the skills he used are undoubtedly his own. Then she twists the knife where it hurts, pointing out that the one who truly broke the knight's code of chivalry was none other than Logan. The bastard looks confused, not even able to keep up with her words. That is when Iris exposes him, pointing at the mage girl in his squad. She explains that the girl had been using fortifying magic to secretly buff Logan during the fight. The mage girl, cosplayed as a discount Vanessa from Black Clover, instantly panics and stutters out a denial. Iris does not even flinch. She reveals that she has appraisal skills and has seen through every trick Logan pulled. The girl's excuses crumble, and Iris delivers the final blow by calling for punishment. The royal guards step in and drag Logan and his crew away, while he keeps screeching and begging for another chance. Case closed. Iris turns around to dismiss the matter, but she notices the room is still heavy with doubt. She tells everyone to stand up and quit sulking. Then she walks straight to Leth, her eyes scanning him head to toe. With zero hesitation, she announces her decision. This so-called jobless will serve as a royal guard, by her will. Logan gets locked up and Leth just pulled up another waifu. Iris drags Leth straight into the royal palace, where her father, King Richard of the Lawrence Empire, is chilling on the throne. She confidently announces that she has brought a new royal guard. Meanwhile, Leth drops to his knees, completely confused at how he, a so-called jobless bastard, is suddenly standing before royalty. The story flashes back to Iris, declaring that she wanted Leth as her personal guard. Roger, being the stick-in-the-mud examiner, immediately opposed the idea. He ranted about the entire knight system, explaining that rookies who pass the exam only get the 9th rank, and only the most elite ever climb to the 7th rank or above. Those are the only ones legally permitted to serve as royal guards. Iris, however, hit him with straight logic. She asked if there was any law that said a newcomer couldn't be promoted directly to the 7th rank. Roger could not answer that, but still threw a fit. She shut him down instantly, commanding him to bring Leth to her and to notify the personnel department immediately. Bro really bagged a baddie just by slashing some fire. Iris then extended her hand, forming a bold alliance with Leth. She told him she was counting on him and added that there was someone important he needed to meet. That is how our boy ended up face to face with the king himself. Leth is sweating bullets because the king looks angry and terrifying, and he never imagined things would escalate this far. Iris introduces him, reminding her father that he must have seen Leth's duel where he crushed his opponent with ease. Richard nods and immediately appoints him as a royal guard, saying it must mean his daughter has taken a liking to him. Iris, being the bold waifu she is, interrupts and adds that she has also chosen Leth as her prospective husband. Bruh, should this man be happy or start writing his last will? Leth's jaw drops wide open, completely stunned at what the princess just said. The king personally stands up and walks over, reaching to shake Leth's hand. Leth raises his own hand, thinking maybe the king is not mad about the marriage claim. But the moment their hands meet, he feels the bloodlust gushing out like a one-piece conqueror's hockey. He remembers the rumors, how this same king once destroyed an entire enemy camp by himself and even took down a dragon with a single strike. That very same monster of a king is now smiling while directing murderous intent straight at him. With a chuckle, Richard pulls Leth into his arms and declares that his background does not matter. If Leth has the skill, he will make him either a duke or his son-in-law, depending on his deeds. Leth is left shocked at the offer, while Iris turns red and blushes like a lovesick anime heroine. Later, as they leave the throne room, Leth tries to calm himself and says that the king is actually a gentleman. Iris agrees but smoothly changes the topic, casually mentioning that the two of them would make a great couple. Leth instantly panics, pulling back and begging her not to joke about such things. She looks at him seriously and forbids him from calling her princess anymore, ordering him to use her name, just Iris. As they walk down the palace stairs together, Leth blushes for the first time, clearly flustered. Trying to steady his voice, he asks where they are going next. Iris calmly tells him that she will introduce him to the royal guards, since from now on he will be her personal guard. She then lowers her tone and warns him that someone among those guards might actually be plotting against her life. She leads him into the grand hall where all the royal guards are gathered. Iris calls for their attention and proudly announces that they have a new member among them. Leth steps forward and introduces himself plainly as Leth, saying he is glad to meet everyone. A spiky-haired guy walks out of the crowd, puffing his chest like he owns the place. He introduces himself as Large, heir to Duke Vane's family, and immediately asks Leth what family he represents. Leth, without hesitation, replies that he is just Leth and nothing more than a commoner. Large raises his brow, pretending to be impressed, saying Leth must be some kind of prodigy to land a royal guard position with no family name backing him. Then he presses further, asking which knightly order Leth hails from. Silence fills the entire hall, the tension thick. Iris breaks it by casually stating that Leth was only appointed today. Suddenly, the air grows heavy, and everyone feels the suffocating wave of bloodlust pouring from Large. He spits out his demand, asking how some random commoner with no achievements, no lineage, and no recognition could jump straight to 7th rank. He scoffs loudly, mocking the whole situation, and sneers about who could be foolish enough to approve something this absurd. The tension snaps when Iris calmly steps forward and says it outright that Leth was appointed today under her authority, and if Large has a problem, he can direct it at her. Her words leave Large speechless for a moment, but his pride keeps him from backing down. He tries to challenge her authority again, so Iris casually suggests that if he doubts Leth's abilities, he should prove it with a quick duel. Large smirks and instantly accepts the challenge, eager to put Leth in his place. Before he can act, Captain steps forward, his voice sharp as he tells Large to show respect to the princess. As captain, he does not permit this duel, especially since Large is still injured, but Large stubbornly protests, refusing to be stopped. Seeing his persistence, makes the decision himself. Instead of Large, he will personally fight Leth. The room erupts in shock. No one expected the captain to step into a duel himself. Is not only the most powerful royal guard, but is also seen by many as the potential future grandmaster of the entire knightly order. Iris naturally takes her boyfriend's side and states confidently that Leth will manage, since he has holy knight skills. Still, even she did not expect to be the one to face him. Clarifies the rules that the use of any defensive or offensive skills are strictly prohibited, and they will fight fair and square with their blades, while wearing the protective rings. After this, they begin the duel. Leth first jumps in, intending to end it in one swoop, swinging his sword, but blocks it easily. Leth analyzes that this guy is tough and then goes for the speed test, where he tries to strike him from every angle. Blocks them all with ease, making him feel his sword heavy. Leth is huffing and puffing like an idiot, while barely looks like he is warming up. By sparring with him, the captain takes a moment to think and comments that Leth is strong. Even Large, the cocky bastard, hates to admit it. Plunges another strike with intense force that Leth nearly avoids, but ends up getting hit with another blow at his gut, showing he has never done core training in his life, which is not true though. However, he collects himself and switches to offense, which seems a decent step according to the captain. But instantly goes all out and breaks Leth's sword in one swoop. Even though Leth is cornered, declares that Leth has won the duel, which takes everyone by surprise. Explains that the last strike in which Leth went for the offense was too strong for him to handle, and he ended up using his skills, otherwise he would have been dead by now. That is why he accepts his defeat fair and square. He admits our guy is strong without a doubt, though Leth looked like a complete wreck a second ago, and says it would be thrilling to see him grow stronger from now on. While taking his leave, he announces one more thing. He has been assigned another duty, and as of now, the one protecting the princess will be Leth. Leth points to himself, wondering, me? As if Iris had not already been screaming personal guard in his ear earlier. Just as he is assigned as the personal guard, he sets off on his first duty to escort the princess as she heads to the Grand Duchy for diplomatic business. There are two more guards, other than him, Large and Lieutenant Zack. Hilariously, Zack climbs on Large's shoulders instead of walking by himself, and when Larg asks what this circus act is supposed to be, Zack says he is helping tone his muscles even while on duty. Bro is literally using his comrade as a gym machine. He says he does not want to lose to the newcomer even though he looks like a freeloading clown riding piggyback. Leth walks alongside the carriage next to Iris's window, where she reminds him about the fact there is an assassin in the knightly order after her life. The truth is, she discovered exclusive knightly information and ended up in danger because of it. Since then, she has lost trust in the personnel department, and her guess is that the assassin is a pawn of the second princess, Camilla. She wanted someone who would not sell her out, and that is why she brought him in. Zack calls out to him to stop slacking off and join the training. Before Leth runs ahead, Iris says she has something more to tell him, so he has to come to her room later. At night, Leth barely manages to get on his bed and his whole body aches with pain, but he still has to go to the princess's room. While he roams around the hall to find her, she suddenly grabs him by the shoulders and drags him straight into her room, directly into her soft heavens. Leth tries to pull back, but she keeps pushing him and insists they should spend the night together. She even leans in to land a kiss, but of course someone ruins the moment by knocking on the door. Both of them panic like teenagers caught making out, and she quickly points to the cupboard for him to hide in. It is Zach outside, asking if something is wrong. Iris replies no, but he says he has urgent news and walks in after getting permission. He reports that Large, who was patrolling outside, saw a band of thieves on their way to raid this place, so they should evacuate immediately. He approaches her, acting all serious, but then this two-faced clown quietly tries to unsheath his sword to stab her in the back. Before he can play Traitor of the Year, Leth steps out to block the blade. He demands why Zach is pointing his sword at the princess, since that is outright treason. Zach, this fake lieutenant, drops the act and claims if he wipes them both out, then no one will know. Iris cannot believe this bargain bin backstabber was the assassin all along. To make things worse, Zach flexes his earth-controlling jutsu, throwing a stone lance at Iris, but Leth steps up again and blocks it. Things look rough now. Zach activates his skill, Stone Hand, and massive sand hands rise up from the ground similar to Robin's Devil Fruit clones. Trapping Leth inside, Zach steps forward and throws a punch at Leth, saying he did not come out as strong as he was hyped. He then binds Iris's hands with sand ropes, anchoring her in one spot. This clown even comes up with a genius plan, saying he will write a report claiming he caught Leth assassinating the princess and then defeated him. Bro really thinks he can cook up fanfiction and pass it off as facts. However, Leth takes advantage of his stupidity and touches his face mid-swing, instantly acquiring his abilities. As Zach winds up for another sorry punch, Leth dissolves the sand trap using his new skills, Stone Lance and Stone Hand. Before the traitor can even blink, Leth blasts him with Fire Lance and evaporates him into thin air. 1 second he's talking about reports, the next second he's nothing but smoke in the wind. After everything is over, Iris immediately asks Leth about his wound, but he calmly says he is okay. Of course, she shamelessly starts flirting right where she left off, like they didn't just almost die. Meanwhile, Captain Urs is outside the whole time with a calm face, and seems satisfied that his student passed his survive or die exam. In Wellesley residence, a butler comes to Duke Ride with a report about Leth, telling him that Leth has been appointed as a member of the Royal Guard. According to the rumors, he aced the exam and was promoted to the 7th rank immediately. Duke gets agitated and throws the wine glass at the table, completely destroying it. With his ugly, twisted face, he insists there must be some mistake, because in his head, Leth is still that incompetent fool with no class to back him up. The butler, who honestly deserves a raise for tolerating this bastard, continues to report that Leth used a Holy Knight's skill during the exam. Princess Iris happened to be there, witnessed his skills firsthand, and immediately appointed him as a 7th-ranked Royal Guard. Duke cannot absorb this info and grabs the poor butler by the neck, strangling him as if bullying the messenger will somehow change reality. Pathetic. But all the butler can do is choke out that what he told him is the truth. Ride finally lets go and asks if Kite is aware of it. The butler, still recovering from almost getting snapped like a twig, confirms that Kite knows. Kite is busy in the forest, crashing the little get-together of the goblins. The tiny green idiots try their dumb luck and swing their rusty weapons at him, but they end up getting knocked out one by one, which is kinda expected from goblins in every anime. Pathetic Kite, who is usually salty enough already, is extra fired up after hearing about Leth's performance. In his small brain, he convinces himself Leth must have cheated, because there's no way a guy with no class should be flexing Holy Knight skills. What really breaks his ego is the fact that Leth, the so-called jobless, is sitting at rank 7 higher than him. To Kite, that's beyond ridiculous. So he keeps slashing every goblin in sight until he forces out the Titanic leader. Kite doesn't even hesitate, just uses his celestial blade and chops him into pieces. Then he sits on the pile of goblins like he just won the war, when in reality it's just him venting his insecurities. Ride finally shows up and sees his bastard son fuming, so he tries to calm him down, saying Leth being a 7th rank is probably just a rumor. He mentions there's a duel tournament coming up for knights with less than 3 years of experience, the perfect chance for Kite to snag the 7th rank officially. After all, Ride himself owes his current rank to that same competition. He encourages his idiot son to claim victory and surpass Leth. Kite makes his usual ugly face, still seething with jealousy, but gets fired up again, vowing to show everyone what he's really made of. Captain Urs shows himself in the room asking about Iris's safety, but Leth snaps back irritably, questioning what he's even doing here. Urs calmly explains that he has been watching over Her Highness the entire time and purposely lowered the guards on the surface to bait out the assassin. Since Leth managed to take care of Zach single-handedly, Urs did not have to step in. Leth understands the plan but still wonders why there is a group bold enough to keep targeting her. Urs shares his suspicion that this is all part of Princess Camilla's scheme to seize the throne. Iris changes the mood by telling Leth about the duel tournament starting next week, where esteemed people from many kingdoms will attend. She has a hunch that Camilla will be there too. With fire in her eyes, she grabs his hand and requests that he show his strength to the world, making it clear they cannot be crossed carelessly. Leth clenches his fist and accepts her request, Shonen protagonist hyping up for the big arc. Meanwhile, in town, The girls of the Knightly Order, including our girl Sarah, visit the crowded market, causing a commotion among the public. Iris and Leth also happen to be there, and Sarah spots her so-called boyfriend waving. But instead of getting the smile she was hoping for, she sees him standing next to Princess Iris. Talk about walking straight into pain. Iris, with that smug confidence, already knows who Sarah is, which surprises Leth. When he asks how she knows her, Iris casually says she once considered recruiting Sarah as a royal guard. Sarah, now ready to combust, questions why Iris is with Leth. In response, Iris grabs his arm and drops the bomb that she personally appointed him as her personal royal guard. It's basically the death sentence for Sarah's heart. An electric bolt runs through her in shock, and she starts getting frustrated, almost bursting into tears. But idiot Leth does not realize Sarah's feelings at all. Instead of noticing her red face, he casually talks about other things, saying it's all thanks to her sharing her powers with him. Otherwise, he was only worth licking gutters. That one line is enough to make Sarah's heart shatter, but Iris immediately picks up on what Sarah is really feeling. The princess leans closer and whispers if she has feelings for Leth. Sarah instantly gets flustered, her cheeks turning bright red, which is all the confirmation Iris needs. Iris smirks and declares they are rivals from now on, but she makes it simple. If Sarah manages to win the tournament, then she can work as a royal guard alongside Leth. Sarah is still processing this chaos, about to answer, when a sudden commotion breaks out. A thief with ice-based skills shows up and the entire market erupts into panic, people running in every direction to save their lives. Iris stays calm and commands both knights to prioritize protecting the civilians first before going after the thief. But the thief makes the mistake of showing himself. He's carrying a massive boulder even bigger than the one Titanic Aaron carried to block the wall, planning to crush people before looting them. Just then, a guy in a cloak appears ahead and casually says he found a fly in the air. The thief, pissed at being insulted, charges at him, but before he can even blink, the cloaked man throws an attack that explodes the thief mid-air, as he was nothing more than a mosquito that bugs in our ears at night. He doesn't bother explaining himself, simply tags along with another strange guy and takes his leave. Our squad is left confused, not knowing who this mysterious monster of a man is. Iris clears their doubts, telling them that he is the sage of the Eastern Knightly Order, Julius Argyle. Lawrence Empire is a nation guarded by elite knights, renowned for their combat prowess. Geniuses from across the world have once again gathered to prove themselves in the legendary Lawrence Empire dueling tourney. Polaris Coliseum is packed, the audience roaring with excitement, itching for the bloodshed to start. The host takes the mic and hypes the crowd, announcing the rewards before the battles begin. She kicks things off by introducing the heroes of the Empire. First up is Leona, captain of the Central Knightly Order, who steps onto the ground to deafening cheers. The crowd practically worships her, and she eats it up like a queen. Next comes Rigel Radner, captain of the Western Knights. He smirks and comments that Leona is still as popular as ever, before casually suggesting they bet on who lasts longer in the tourney. If he wins, she's buying the drinks. Then Ralph Sullivan enters, captain of the Eastern Knightly Order, and referee talks about him that this guy is so calm it is suspicious. He annihilates monsters while never raising his voice, never breaking his poker face. He probably would not flinch if a nuke dropped behind him. With the captains done, it is time for royalty. Princess Iris steps onto the stage, and the whole stadium loses its mind. She looks hotter than ever, instantly stealing every man's gaze. The host claims she is loved for her generous heart, but let us be honest, every dude here is simping over her body, not her charity work. In the stands, Ride and his bastard son Kite sit watching. Both of them immediately notice that Leth is not with her, even though he is supposed to be guarding her. Anyways, the host now announces the first battle's contender from the Western Knights, who is renowned to overwhelm his opponents with tremendous strength. He is Morris Brute with Class A tank. That's why he is always covered in thick armor. Man really walks out like a walking fridge, and his overwhelming spirit can be felt by audience. His opponent is from the Central Knightly Order, bestowed with divine powers from God and overwhelmingly swordsmanship, our girl Sarah. Sarah takes a deep breath in the underground hall, and she is together with Leth, who encourages her for the match like a typical boyfriend, and then she leaves the underground. The host mentions the rules that being out of the ring or knocked out for 10 minutes means defeat. The match can be stopped depending upon the situation, and both fighters will wear guardian rungs to avoid serious attacks. If their rings break or a fighter concedes, their opponent will win. Lastly, the priest cast a protective barrier around the arena, and the first match between two knights begin. Let's start with the backstory of Morris. He was born and raised in the small village between the Lawrence Empire and Novolturna. They lived peacefully with the cattle until one day, a tiger attacked their village and engulfed every cattle in sight. Even it was going after the innocent civilians, but young Morris showed up and held it back with his brute force, saving his fellows who just thanked him in return. Bro really risked his life, and all he got was a thanks. Peak side character treatment. As he held it back, Rigel showed up and sliced down the tiger into 2 pieces, protecting Morris. Basically, Rigel did the heavy lifting while Morris just played tank bait. Rigel praised him for holding it back and thanked him for saving people in place of the Western Knightly Order. Since then, Morris wanted to become strong and capable like Captain Rigel. He went on warrior pilgrimage, trained his body, and joined the Western Knightly Order, and now he intends to come out top in the dueling tourney. Morris and Sarah engage in a fierce battle. Sarah revolves around him to find a chance and then tries to strike at him with her sword that he easily dodges. She pulls back for a while and then tries to use skill, Celestial Thousand Frost. Yet again he uses his shield powered with skill, Steel Chariot, to block her attack. So she just jumps on the shield to pull back and take next step. The audience is amazed that they both are on the same par and neither side is giving in. Ralph notices that Warhammer is pretty heavy and yet he can wield it effortlessly. Rigel comments as a proud daddy that Morris can stand toe-to-toe against the Holy Knight just because he has a significant amount of combat experience. Ever since he was assigned to the Western Knightly Order, he never backed down from the fights and always been on the front line, protecting his comrades. Basically, Rigel is coping like Rock Lee's sensei, trying to hype his boy even though Sarah is low-key carrying this fight. However, the audience is still amazed to see Sarah doing good being a rookie knight, and the match outcome seems unpredictable. The mysterious guy with cloak is also among the audience and he finds it getting interesting. Morris calls out her saying, "Hey you," to which Sarah nags him for being rude and tells him that she has a name, Sarah. Hearing it, he just confesses his feelings for her and asks her out while blushing that never suits his character. My guy went from Dark Souls boss to high school rom-com reject in 2 seconds flat. She gets shocked, not processing what he is even saying. Iris believes it would be nice, since her rival will be gone, whereas Leth has nothing to say. Sarah collects herself and says she will give her answer after the match, but does not want him to expect her to go easy on him. Morris stomps on the ground with power that breaks the surrounding parts of the ground, and its impact even reaches Sarah, enough that she kneels down to hold herself from being blown away. Then, he starts throwing rocks at her and she blocks them with her agile body by stabbing her sword onto the ground and jumping upward. She goes for a counterattack and throws a powerful kick with her small feet. He blocks this kick with his hand and uses his shield to protect himself, and thereby, she pulls back. She praises him for being good, to which he says his shield can block anything, but he is also impressed by her skills. Bro thinks he is Captain America, yet even admits she is cooking him. She then decides to break his shield and rushes forward to start hitting his shield continuously. The scene shifts to the past when she was a cutie pie and worked once with her father who was a blacksmith. While breaking the stone, she accidentally hit her finger that caused her pain. Later, when he tended to her injury, she asked how he can break the hard stones with just one strike of a hammer, to which he showed her by demonstrating it. He explained that she needs to close her eyes and feel the softest spot on the rock, then she needs to strike at that spot to break it. She thought for a while and asked what if she could not find that spot, to which he told her to hit the spot continuously to break it. This man basically dropped the Dark Souls tutorial on her while she was crying over a bruised finger. Currently, she uses the same techniques and keeps striking Morris's shield to make a crack at one spot. Taking this chance, she aims at the spot and fires off a powerful shot of Celestial Blade, which eventually breaks the shield. The captains of the Knightly Order are stunned, and Leona comments that Sarah must have been training hard before joining the Knightly Order, since it is not easy to hit the same spot with precision. Iris is impressed by her skills and is interested in her enough to even invite her into the Royal Guards. Kite can hear her comments and grits his teeth in anger, which seems very satisfying. Morris realizes now why he liked her, as she is powerful on par with Mikasa Ackerman, and this is the first time something he got defeated. However, he is also fired up and claims that the real battle starts now. In comparison, Sarah sheathes her sword for some reason when the real things are going to begin. Morris throws destructive attacks that Sarah skillfully dodges and approaches him. He swings his hammer to attack her and she again dances around him to dodge it. His captain notices he has lost his temper just because Sarah is fighting without unsheathing her swords. Bro really out here raging like Bakugo against Deku, except he is swinging a mallet. While they keep their Tom and Jerry fight, he even asks her to unsheath her sword and if she is mocking him. Sarah basically speedruns his patience bar, and while he loses his temper, he is off guard, so she puts her sword into his shield and then forcefully rotates it to flip him over. Lastly, she unsheathes her sword and puts it around his neck while sitting over his giant armor, saying it is unsheathed as he asked. Morris just got hard carried into a humiliation kink live on stage. The host then announces that the victor of the first round is Leona. Rigel talks with Captain Leona and comments that her subordinate is quite impressive, as her strategy and judgment are remarkable. She came up with the plan of keeping her sword to provoke Morris and then using his loss of composure to counterattack. However, if her plan was unsuccessful, she could have got severely injured. So, he wonders if Leona recognized her talents when she first joined the Knightly Order. But Leona says with a poker face that Sarah joined just because she was a holy knight and Leona was oblivious of her talents. Anyways, Morris comes to his love topic and asks her answer to his confession. She starts shaking in confusion because she almost forgot about it. She just apologizes while looking at Leth and confesses that she likes someone else. This is how Morris loses not only in the fight but also in love. Man really pulled a double L combo. Talk about being the Yamcha of the story. She comes running to Leth, questioning if he saw her fight where she won. But but Leth is in sweats looking at his so-called biological father who is with his new son and asks a dumb question from our boy about why he is here. Leth suddenly gets PTSD of his traumas and he cannot even look up to say anything. Looking at him, Sarah steps forward and starts yapping that Leth passed the night exam and joined the Royal Guard solely based on his skills. Kite shoos her away, being an arrogant bastard he is, rudely saying they were not asking her and she should not butt in. As the one who knows nothing, she should stay out of this. Bro really thinks he is Vegeta, but he is just Yamcha with daddy issues. He continues his bullshit that his elder brother lived a luxury life as the Duke's son, but he was jobless according to Divine Oracle. It was shameful enough to dive into the sea, but thanks to that, Kite was chosen as the successor of the family. Sarah interrupts him again, asking what he is trying to do, but this time, ugly Kite loses his temper and is about to throw a hit. Leth finally steps in with anger and blocks his arm that he cannot even move easily. Kite uses force to release himself from his grasp, looking salty as ever. Leth talks with his father that he failed to receive any class from the gods and could not meet his expectations, resulting in bringing shame to his family. He is sorry for that and deeply apologizes. Bro still apologizing while half the room is clowning him, pathetic energy. However, when he was kicked out of the family, he acquired a new skill and passed the night exam based on his merits. He became the Royal Guard. Instead, the heir to the Wellesley family should be the Holy Knight. It is only natural for him to be expelled from the family. After all, no one accepts a jobless. As Rai just knows how to break things, he throws a punch at the wall and says if he knows this, then he should leave this tournament right now, because he does not belong here. Iris shows up, refusing this claim, and in her respect, everyone kneels down before her. She claims that she personally saw Light's capabilities during the exam and hired him as a guard based on them. She ran a background check on Life and found out he was expelled from the Wellesley family. Wright interrupts her and shares his opinion that classes given by gods are absolute. He also worked in the Eastern Knightly Order as a Holy Knight for years, which explains his fossilized pride. Classes are divided into ranks. Holy Knights and Saints are high class, mages and fighters are mid-class, and peasants and merchants are low class. Being granted a high class means recognized by gods, and the dueling stage is prepared for such elites. He says he does not know what abilities she saw in Leth, but he was not given a class by gods. It is a bitter truth that Leth is as good as abandoned by gods, which means gods did not acknowledge his existence, and that is why he should not be on these grounds. Honestly, what kind of father spits out garbage like this to his own son? Leth cannot bear hearing this, and obviously he is drowning in pain inside. Sarah can see the agony on his face, but she cannot figure out what she needs to do in such a case. She lightly touches his hand in worry, trying to ground him before he snaps. Iris speaks up and says that Ride might be correct in this case, but she also believes every citizen uses his own skills to protect each other. Classes and the like have nothing to do with it, and the skills that are lacking can be compensated. She holds his hand and continues that when she was nearly assassinated, he bravely confronted the assassin and saved her life. The desire to protect others is not something you can get from the oracles. Leth seems to be impressed by her speech, and his first waifu gets jealous to see it. Ride still asks her if she desires to go against gods, to which she replies, who knows? Anyways, she has a suggestion. How about proving his abilities in the arena? Both sons will fight in the tournament, and if Kite wins the duel fight, even if he does not win the overall tournament, she will promote him to the 7th rank. They will not have qualms since it would be a battle witnessed by a lot of spectators. Ride thinks it would be more than he could ask for. After all, becoming a 7th is not easy. But he is slightly cautious, seeing Iris is confident to suggest it. Kite quickly accepts this deal, saying he came here to win the tournament and defeating the jobless guy would be a piece of cake. Ride grabs his shoulder and warns him not to lose this match and not to let his guard down. But Ugly Kite is cocky as ever and make us believe they both deserve each other. The arena was destroyed due to the last fight, and the priests have repaired it by now. The host begins the introduction of the next contestants. Kite jumps into the arena by himself, acting as some hotshot protagonist, and the host introduces him as the powerful guy who overwhelms his opponents with unparalleled power and speed. He is the Holy Knight, blessed with celestial powers from God and belongs to the Eastern Knightly Order. The host announces that his opponent is the guy recognized by royalty itself and the youngest to join the Royal Guards, but she gets confused to see he does not have class and is jobless. Anyways, she calls out to him by his full name as Leth Wellesley. Rigel gets agitated and wonders if such a thing is possible. Ralph calms him down and recalls something about the class jobless. The audience is as pathetic as his father, Ride, and throws trash at Leth, while some guys say even they are stronger than him and bully him. Imagine booing the guy who is about to save their sorry lives. The host ignores their boo and begins their next match. Kite rushes forward while he activates Celestial Boost and overconfidently says he will finish it in one instant. Bro really thinks he is Madara walking into the Shinobi Alliance, when in reality, he is closer to Yamcha rushing into a Saibaman. The host wonders how Leth will be able to deal with this blow and anticipates the next result. Kite swings his blade with celestial blade skills and throws him away, spreading smoke everywhere. When it clears out, something different happens compared to what everyone saw. Leth is still there and has cornered his brother with his sword, rendering him motionless and leaving everyone confused at what happened. And just like that, the so-called chosen holy knight got humiliated in front of whole crowd. Captain Urs observed his fight and comments that Leth has improved. Iris inquires if he knows anything about the celestial blade, to which he agrees and explains that it is concentrating power at the tip of the blade and explosively releasing the magical power at once. But if you get within its range before it explodes, it becomes powerless. The same thing happened in their case. When Kite threw his blade attack, Leth approached him to deviate his attack and then knocked him down with one plunge. The host asks Kite if he can continue his duel, to which he says of course he just slipped. Classic excuse from a clown who cannot admit he got smoked. He gets up again to fight with Leth, but Leth is always one step ahead and dodges him skillfully. The audience cannot believe their eyes because they can see Leth, the so-called jobless, moving just fine and powerful. Moreover, they find it damn cool as he is overpowering a holy knight. Ride, on the other hand, looks like he is about to choke on his own pride. His chosen son is getting outclassed while the rejected trash is shining like the actual main character. He realizes if Kite wins, people will shrug it off as expected, but if Kite loses, Leth gets crowned a beast in front of everyone. Either way, their family reputation is already in the dumpster. Kite throws another sword attack, but Leth dodges it and slams him onto the ground as he is a sack of potatoes. Kite drags himself back up and tries again, this time with Celestial Blade, but Leth just answers with a powerful kick that sends him flying into the wall. The so-called prodigy gets booted straight out of the ring and is about to be disqualified if he does not crawl back within 10 seconds. The audience watches their chosen holy knight, beaten up badly. Sage Julius of the Eastern Knightly Order watches with interest. He admits Kite might be a rookie holy knight, but his divine powers should at least be backing him up. In comparison, Leth is literally jobless, having no job to make his career. That gap is what makes Julius lean forward. The supposed trash is outperforming the kingdom's golden boy, and that is peak entertainment. When the reverse counting begins, Kite stumbles back onto his feet, puffing his chest and yelling that he is the strongest. Leth wastes no time showing him his place. He kicks him again, tossing him off balance, and calls out his name, telling him to just give up already. Their current position drags Kite back into the past when they were kids. Leth stood there holding bread in his hand, while Kite was on his knees with his bread thrown to the ground. Let's go through the backstory of the kids. We see young Leth buying bread from the stall, and the shopkeeper warns him that if he is new here, he better be careful because thieves are everywhere. Sure enough, just as he is about to hand over the bag, a little thief snatches it and runs. The 4th district in the Empire is a densely packed slum where all the lower classes are dumped. Just being labeled low class means discrimination, poverty, and zero opportunities. So a bunch of desperate fools turn to stealing just to scrape by. Leth steps into this district and, of course, gets his bread snatched. He runs after the thief and catches up fast, only to realize it is none other than Kite. And he asks what is he doing, as Leth does not have those damn eyes. Kite turns around, shocked, wondering who Leth even is and how he managed to catch him so easily. Leth tells him to stop pulling this kind of crap, but Kite, being the same hot-headed idiot even as a kid, goes for a kick. Leth casually dodges and sends him flying, as Kite is the ball in blue lock.ss. Instead of flexing, Leth turns calmly and asks if Kite wants bread again. That hits Kite's pride and he immediately begs him to teach the move he just pulled. Outside, Kite admits life in the slums is rough and unless you are strong, you starve. On top of that, he says he wants to learn cool moves. Leth asks why he should help him when he literally just stole from him. Kite, in peak manipulative kid logic, says it is his intuition. Leth did not call adults or guards to catch him but handled it himself, which means he is a good guy deep down. He wants to be strong like Leth. Seeing his desperation, Leth agrees to train him but he warns him not to quit halfway. That is when they introduce themselves properly and fist bump, without knowing they are destined rivals, totally opposite of our lovely duo of Gon and Killua. They start with running first because it will help build stamina, but Kite burns out almost immediately, wheezing like a cheap engine that refuses to start, while Leth keeps jogging with no problem. It takes Kite forever just to get the basics down. When they spar daily to sharpen swordsmanship, Leth easily catches him off guard once and drops him in a single strike. He reminds him that losing focus even for a second means defeat. Honestly, this drill is easier than training Naruto did under Jiraiya sensei. After training, they rest for a while and Leth generously shares his bread. Kite whines that he is not hungry, but Leth tells him to eat anyway since skipping meals only makes him weaker. Kite then prays into his life, asking if he is a noble. Leth admits he is, so Kite assumes that means he can just sit back and live in comfort. Leth corrects him, saying his father is from a combat class and expects him to earn a high class as well. If he does not train and become stronger, he will never be acknowledged. By Light's description, Kite concludes that Light's father has high hopes for him. On the other hand, Kite's father barely shows his face. Then he suddenly remembers it is his mother's birthday, which means his father should be home today, so he invites Leth to come eat with them. Leth, being a decent guy, agrees and even buys a cake for Kite's mother. They arrive at his home and Kite proudly tells her about the cake and the friend he brought. But then Light's world crashes in front of his eyes, because sitting inside is none other than his own father. The man is out here living a double life, playing family with another woman, as Endeavor's family scandal in My Hero Academia. Leth looks straight at him and asks why he is here, father. This shock just spreads silence in the room, and Kite's mom breaks this silence, asking why he is calling him father. Being the bastard he always is, Rye just pushes her aside and spits out a "shut up." He then turns toward Leth with his smug face and asks how he thinks he became a noble. Leth, hesitant, replies that he became noble because he possesses the strength of a knight. Rye, clearly loving the sound of his own garbage, continues with his pathetic flex. He brags that he clawed his way to Duke in one generation, and only a strong successor can keep that seat. He says as the eldest son, Leth was supposed to be the candidate, but if he failed to get a high class at 18, everything would crumble. So, the genius plan of this clown was to make Kite his backup. Kite, already salty, explodes with anger. He blames Ride for never visiting again, saying he and his mother were just pawns to protect his power. He calls out his mother for always waiting for that trash even when he treated them like dirt. And what pisses him off most is realizing he was just the replacement for Leth. That is why, when he got his class, he was overjoyed to finally surpass his big brother and see the so-called heir thrown out easily. Leth quickly moves in a ring around him and says that he is jealous of him when Kite has a class, but he believes now classes are not absolute. Kite, the eternal dumbass, throws an attack using a celestial blade, to which Leth tells him the repeated attack will not work. But Kite grins with that ugly, smug face, saying he already knows it, and reveals his actual target is the referee, not Leth. This clown seriously tried to cheese the fight by attacking the referee. He thinks Leth always rushes to save others, just like back when he stole his bread, and same will happen when Leth will try to save referee. When the referee is panicking for his life, Leth proves him right, but in the most badass way possible. He jumps in, slices the attack apart, and makes it disappear, leaving Wright utter speechless. While he is wondering, our boy wraps up another attack and warns him that if he does not want to die, he better use Celestial Boost. Kite eats the hit directly, and gets sent flying out of the ring, yet Team Rocket blasting off again. Captain Urs comments that Leth must have put the magical attack to practical use. Iris, still confused, does not get it, so Urs explains, breaking down how a celestial blade disperses the power of light, but Leth concentrated it in his sword to slice through Kite's sacred sword. Basically, Leth is cooking while Kite is choking. Urs continues that this level of manipulation is usually for mages, but Leth has copied so many skills that he can bend rules and grow infinitely. He admits he wonders how far this jobless guy will rise. The reverse count begins, but surprise surprise, Kite does not return. The host declares Leth as the winner of the duel. The crowd sees Leth standing victorious, while Kite is out there bathing in shameful defeat. When Leth leaves the arena, Sage Julius meets him out of nowhere and comments that he enjoyed watching the match. He doubts Leth is still hiding some skill since he is jobless and somehow managed to use a Holy Knight skill. Leth makes an awkward expression that basically confirms Julius is right, and Julius takes him outside to talk. Kite wakes up in pure agony, furious because this clown is supposed to be a holy knight, a high-class warrior, yet a so-called jobless defeated him this easily and he ended up humiliated in front of everyone. A guard approaches him to check if he is fine, but pathetic Kite just tosses the guy into a wall, crushing him and leaving him dead. With blood smeared across his face, he puts on his ugly grimace and swears he will become stronger and not hold back against Leth next time. Now, he's going to come back to give us a revenge arc, and with this, he disappears without a trace to become a rogue knight. Outside, Julius casually throws a fireball at Leth, and he blocks it with bare hands using fire skills as if it were nothing. Julius smirks because this is exactly what he expected. He wonders how Leth can use so many different abilities while still being jobless. Instead of being annoyed, Julius gets excited because he craves chaos. He pulls out his Rubik's Cube like some overpowered anime freak who toys around mid-fight, already thinking about how fun it will be when he finally gets to clash with Leth. Back at the arena, Claire of the Central Knightly Order is fighting with Fang of the Eastern Knightly Order. She activates her Wind Blade Storm, summoning a holy storm with countless blades from the void. She throws it at him, but it vanishes in midair like it never existed. Fang instantly appears behind her, telling her to at least attack him properly. Claire panics and launches another attack, Air Explosion, but it fails just as miserably. Fang calmly tells her there is a secret behind his cloak and asks if she knows it. She guesses it absorbs her attacks, but that is wrong. He activates Dark Shadow, and a terrifying shadow with countless eyes appears beneath her, looking like something straight out of Blackbeard's devil fruit. The shadow swallows her whole and she disappears from the arena. The referee starts the back counting and she never returns, giving Fang the win. Fang casually drags her back from the dark shadow and tosses her onto the ground. While she is unconscious, he coldly says if this were a battlefield, she would already be dead. He even flexes harder by showing her the Ring of Blessing, saying he does not even need such trinkets to win. The man is basically evil, Itachi with none of the drip. The final battle is set between Gu of the Western Knightly Order and Julius of the Eastern Knightly Order. But Julius, being the troll he is, does not even appear when called. The host starts to wonder if it is really his turn, but he finally shows up after casually breaking the protective barrier, leaving the audience stunned. Rigel tells the crowd that Gu is the strongest martial artist of their order, a man who crushes enemies with a body as hard as steel. Their order has not won yet, but Rigel is confident Gu will secure a victory. While he is running his mouth, the fight ends behind him in an instant, with Julius winning so fast it makes Rigel's eyes pop out in disbelief. Ralph asks Julius where he was, and Julius just shrugs it off, saying he was playing around because he found a new toy. The scene cuts back to when he threw his attack at Leth, showing our boy wrecked against the wall. Julius smirks, saying their fight will be interesting. With this, the duel fights come to an end, and the competition moves into the semi-final stage. The referee shows the brackets for the next round, and announces that the semi-finals will begin next week, with the king himself coming to watch. Just then, a massive dragon appears in the sky, roaring and raging, which is a unique feature of Dragon Race. The audience panics, but the referee quickly calms them down, saying it is not an enemy attack. Instead, it is King Richard rolling up in style while riding an ancient dragon. The crowd erupts in cheers as the king lands and waves back like he is celebrity of level of Justin Bieber. The captains of the knightly orders are stunned. Richard is riding the flame dragon, a beast said to dwell in the dark continent since ancient times. It is infamous for being ferocious and nearly impossible to tame. Its existence is shrouded in mystery, and yet Richard casually tames it and shows to the crowd. For the dragon to obey him, it must have recognized his insane strength. Richard then takes the mic from the referee in a way that feels a little too smooth, almost flirting. Of course, this annoys his daughter because what kind of father tries to act like a lady killer in front of everyone? He asks the crowd, what is strength? And then answers himself. He claims every participant here is excellent, not because of their class but because of their drive. Not everyone can start with the highest class from the beginning. He brings up the scholar class, explaining that even if someone is skilled academically, they cannot perform high-level magic without reading and studying countless books first. The same goes for duels. One can only learn how to make the best choices with weapons and skills by training. When it comes to judging right from wrong, the experience of frustration is the real teacher. We see poor Leth sitting outside, beaten up and sulking, showing something bad happened to him and his overconfidence finally dropped. Richard continues his wannabe Irwin speech, saying frustration may be painful, but it triggers maturity. By understanding their shortcomings, warriors can grow stronger, so they should not fear failure. Everyone has strength within themselves, and it is up to them whether they use it or not. The crowd is super excited and they feel like they can also become stronger. Captain Urs comments that Richard's ideals are wonderful. Iris agrees, saying her father speaks like a true king. Meanwhile, Richard is just flexing his shonen dad energy and riding his dragon. The flame beast suddenly turns towards him, and Richard realizes it wants to go back. Before leaving, he announces that the winner of the Knightly Order tournament will gain the right to visit the Dragon Lair, home of the ancient dragons. With that, he hops on his beast and flies off, leaving the audience in uproar. Iris grows worried, wondering why her father even showed up. Urs has his eyes narrowed, thinking the king clearly has some scheme in mind. Meanwhile, the contestants return to training. Every knight owns their swords and magic, chasing their own goals before the semifinals. Leth finally gets himself together, shaking off the trauma, and heads back to the royal palace where Captain Urs is already waiting for him. Julius and James, the so-called brains of the Eastern Knightly Order, walk into the meeting room where Ryde and Ralph are already lurking. James seems the big boss and announces their grand plan is finally reaching its climax. Their goal is none other than the death of King Richard. He says everything has gone smoothly so far and they are ready to strike at any moment, as if they are not just a table full of clowns scheming behind closed doors. The problem is the king himself. Richard has that golden flame dragon at his side, and as long as it exists, they cannot even scratch him. The dragon has sworn to protect him until the end of his life. In short, the king is walking around with cheat codes active. Ryde, being the vile snake he always has been, does not surprise anyone by plotting murder. What actually stings is finding out Ralph is a traitor too. This supposed calm knight exposes himself as another spineless schemer, whining that if Richard is invincible then there is nothing they can do. That is when Camilla makes her dramatic entrance, strutting in like she is the final boss, Everyone jumps to their feet, but she orders them to sit down and even tells them not to call her princess. She calls herself Iris's sidekick, but the way she talks, it is obvious she wants the throne shining under her name. She lays out her risky plan, and Ralph the lapdog immediately questions if it is even possible, proving again he is built for doubting, not for doing. Ride suddenly rises, proving he is both pathetic and psychotic. He pulls out a dagger and pretends he is going for Camilla, but instead he plunges it into her guard's gut, killing him instantly. The guard was his actual target because in their so-called top-secret plan, even one loyal soldier is considered an uncertainty to a race. Camilla does not blink and stares at Ride with cold eyes, asking if there are any flaws in her strategy, but the bastard instantly denies it. She then smirks and says she hopes to see her father and sister at the dueling tournament for the last time. The long-awaited event arrives and the audience is as hyped as if they were promised free lunch. The referee kicks things off with a legend, saying God once defeated the demons in battle and that history began from this very place, the land of beginnings. Basically free lore dump before the fights. Rigel strolls in, coping that his order may have lost every match but insists their experience will be useful someday. Leona arrives too, instantly throwing shade, saying the Western Order is noisy as always while lecturing her subordinate to watch closely, since this will be helpful in the future. Then comes the so-called beauty queen of the empire, Iris, with her shady sister Camille. Both wave like celebrities while the crowd eats it up. Iris genuinely asks where Camille has been, worried about her, but Camille drops her sinister one-liner that there will not be such an opportunity anymore. Iris looks confused while the audience is too busy simping for them to notice. King Richard finally arrives, shining brighter than a golden disco ball, waving to everyone like he owns the catwalk. The referee announces the participants and spots Leth covered in bruises, wondering if he has been overtraining for the semifinals. Julius has his eyes on Leth and looks forward to fighting him. Sarah immediately cuts in and says no, Leth will not make it to the finals because she is going to defeat him herself. Julius gets so much hyped that his edgy aura almost exploding, and he calls her a cute little doll he cannot wait to play with. But before he can finish his cringe, Sarah rushes in and slashes him in a flash, shutting his creepy mouth for a moment. However, it was just an afterimage, and he pops up behind her, throwing a fireball at her that she slices like it was nothing. Julius keeps spamming moves, now with earth spears, making people wonder if he is auditioning for Avatar with all this elemental nonsense. Sarah draws her sword and activates her divine sword, cutting through his lame tricks and sending an attack back at him. But this clown pulls out his Rubik's Cube again, blocking it with an invisible shield like some kid who thinks solving a toy makes him a genius. The blacksmith in the audience, who helped craft that cube, mutters that Julius has insane magical talent, but everyone can see he is not even fighting to win, just playing around because Sarah is his new chew toy. Julius rotates his cube non-stop and keeps blasting Sarah, leaving her bruised and hurt, until he teleports behind her with energy concentrated in his hand. But instead of ending it, he pauses to trash talk, asking where her earlier fire went, because it would be boring as she does not resist back. But this time stall is enough for her counterattack, and she claims that he has just missed his chance to win this. She activates her trump and several swords start floating around her, as she has become Urza with her armor, where she pulls out several swords. Sarah claims these are not just after images but real divine swords. She directs them towards him, meanwhile he's impressed by her progress in short amount of time. He gets fired up again, saying there is no room for boredom and this is as exciting as hell. When she rushes towards him, he pulls out a great giant shield of earth, but she still cuts through it using her sword while she covers herself with the sword rotating at high speed. In counterattack, he activates the flame tornado, yet she again manages to withstand such attack. She says the sacred sword is originally offensive technique, but she cannot win with it alone, so he improved it to the technique that allows her to attack while defending. She activates another skill called Sacred Shattered Petal Dance, just like Bankai of our beloved Byakuya of Bleach. This attack throws an attack that covers the entire area, and its flash blinds everyone. For a while, Julius is nowhere to be seen, but he is such a cunning fellow and pops up behind her, saying the doll's sword is reduced to 1 after this technique. He did not take a direct hit and dodged her attack with the speed of light. Now, he wants to see more of these cute techniques, as he has got a lot of techniques too and he is not satisfied yet. This is getting interesting and he gets serious to play more. Sarah wonders what his brain is even planning and assumes this clown is just messing with her. Then, he flicks his finger like X from To Be the Hero X, and out of nowhere a titanic stone golem emerges, shrinking the whole arena around it. The crowd is impressed by the overwhelming magical flex of the so-called sage. The golem leans forward carrying a massive stone slab and hurls it with full force. Ride sits back watching and starts his commentatory, saying the stone golems are slow but have solid destructive power. He points out they are basically military puppets, strong and brute force but pathetic when it comes to competing against the real offensive might of holy knights. Sure enough, while the clunky rock statue is still standing stiff after throwing its slab, Sarah dodges it with ease, rushes forward and slices through the golem like it is nothing more than brittle drywall. The weight of the fight suddenly tilts in her favor and she looks to have the upper hand. Julius, this so-called genius, stares at the remains of his golem in disappointment. Sarah roasts him, asking why he is holding back by hiding behind a golem. He smirks like a wannabe mastermind and asks if she has ever heard of the Flame Titan. She pauses, probably thinking why this idiot is dragging myths into a duel. Julius, drunk on his own voice, assumes she is clueless and starts rambling about Sirte, the Flame Titan who rampaged through human cities, burned everything, and pushed the world to the brink of death. He claims he always admired the Titan who ruined everything, which already tells you his brain is cooked. With the confidence of a guy who thinks he deserves a PhD in biomedical engineering just for stacking Lego bricks, Julius brags that he tried making a golem with earth magic, but to get closer to the Flame Titan he needed fire magic. By combining the two, he claims he created a masterpiece that would be fitting to face her. He summons the Flame Titan who starts spamming fire magic, way faster than those slow-ass golems he had before, and this one actually packs some heat. Sarah runs for her life, dodging blasts left and right, but the Titan keeps breathing fire without giving her a second to catch her breath, nuking the entire arena and even roasting the poor referee along with it. Morris watches this chaos and admits he has heard of sages with multiple attributes, but never one juggling two at the same time. Even Leth recognizes that Julius has juice, saying his power is nothing to laugh at, but Sarah refuses to fold and swings her celestial blade at the Titan's ugly mug, managing to crumble its mouth. The problem is, this knockoff Surtur just shrugs it off, grabs her, and squeezes her fist so hard it looks like he is trying to make fresh lemonade. To make it worse, the Titan regenerates by molding its body as hot as magma, so no physical or basic attacks can scratch it. Julius laughs and flexes that his Titan cannot be touched because it can shapeshift and reform endlessly. Sarah keeps slashing uselessly, looking more desperate with each swing, and instead of doing damage, she eats another fire blast straight to the body. Launched into the air and badly burned, she gets caught again in the Titan's fist for just fun for Julius. Leth, panicking, calls her name and begs her to surrender because even with the protection rings, she won't survive much longer. But stubborn as ever, Sarah screams that she cannot lose this fight because she is a true lover and her goal is to become a royal guard for the sake of her love. Julius, enjoying the show way too much, prepares to squeeze the life out of her for good. Just before things get fatal, Leona storms into the duel, sword pressed at Julius's neck, and coldly warns him that if he does not release Sarah now, he will be crossing the entire Central Knightly Order. Leona has been watching over Sarah ever since she joined the Central Knightly Order. After getting blessed with the Holy Class, Sarah had her sights on the Central, where many women knights were enlisted, and she quickly proved herself by wiping the floor with her opponents and aiming straight for the top. Even Leona, the stone-faced queen herself, had to admit her talent, but talent only gets you so far. Julius, the wannabe god-tier clown, is way stronger, and his Titan grabs Sarah again, ready to barbecue her alive. Leona warns him that if he does not release her, he will be making an enemy of the entire Central Order. Julius pretends to understand and loosens his grip, but Ralph just has to run his mouth, saying it does not feel right. Rigel wonders if this idiot knows who he is talking about, because Julius is not exactly a guy who listens. Leth puts her on a stretcher and demands immediate treatment, even using healing skills like he is Sakura trying to cosplay as useful. A nurse checks her and realizes her condition is worse than expected. As Leth walks away, Sarah calls out to him with what little strength she has, asking him to make sure he wins. Then she breaks down on the stretcher, as she is a newborn baby because all she wanted was to join the Royal Guard for his sake, but she lost the duel. Up above, King Richard has been watching, and comments that Leth is impressive for showing bravery and surviving the crisis. Iris, never missing a chance to hype her boy, agrees and proudly says she is glad to have such a powerful bodyguard by her side. But Richard says he does not mean it, and he starts laughing because it is rare to see his daughter showing this much emotion in public. He realizes her feelings, that she brought Leth in as her potential fiancé and is clearly worried about him. Agitated and pissed, Leth approaches Julius, who smirks as he is a discount Madara and asks why he interrupted his fun. Leth fires back and demands why he hurt Sarah in the first place. Just when they are about to throw hands and turn the arena into rubble, the referee slides in between them and stops the fight. She announces that Julius will not be competing in the next match. If they clash now, both will be disqualified. Fang strolls into the arena, telling Julius to step aside because it is his turn now, and he can have his fun later. With no other choice, Julius finally takes his leave, but not before running his mouth, promising that win or lose, he and Leth will still fight. Morris clenches his fists, angry at Julius for hurting his crush. He swears he will not forgive him, but deep down he is also salty, wondering if Leth is the guy Sarah actually likes. Poor dude lost both in love and in brain cells. Anyway, the second match begins between Leth and Fang. Fang, with his smug aura, warns Leth to resist with all his might. Suddenly, a wolf made of dark energy lunges forward, but our boy blocks it with his sword. Fang smirks, saying it is a demonic wolf born from his dark magic, and it is not the only one Leth needs to worry about. Struggling against the wolves, Leth uses his stone hand to grab one and squeeze it like he is juicing an orange. Then he cuts it down with his sword. Chuckling, Fang analyzes that Leth just used earth element magic. He starts running his detective cosplay, talking about a rumor that one royal guard named Zack vanished during a mission. At the site there were burnt rock fragments, so Zack must have fought someone with fire magic. He keeps digging through records and points out that Leth fought Logan in the exam who used fire, then Kite with the divine sword, and somehow copied both. Fang concludes that Leth is jobless but can copy or steal other people's abilities. The audience is shocked, but honestly it is obvious by now. This boy is out here building a skill collection like it is a Pokemon team, and everyone else is just realizing it. Ride looks the most pathetic of them all. His whole ideology of jobless equals useless gets shattered right in front of him. The clown cannot even keep his story straight. First he threw his own son out like trash, and now he is thinking of making him the heir again. He is not a father, but a broken slot machine that only pays attention when it hits a jackpot. Leth is now slightly hesitant, since Fang has already figured out his ability and he knows he has to be cautious. While he is overthinking, Fang flashes forward and throws a punch, asking how he acquires other people's skills. Leth dodges quickly and they start clashing in fierce combat. The audience is glued to the fight, curious to see who will win. Richard comments that Fang is a strategist, and even if Leth copies his skills, he will not win easily. Leave it to Richard to hype up the enemy instead of cheering for the guy who just saved his daughter's life. During their arm struggle, Leth manages to slam Fang to the ground, but of course Fang summons more of his edgy wolves, as if spamming summons makes him cool. Leth burns them away using fire skills, and then lands a strike at Fang's face. His mask cracks apart and the touch allows Leth to snatch a new ability called Demon Wolves. With half his mask broken, Fang acts all impressed and says this is the most fun he has had in years. Bro is basically a masochist who enjoys being hit. Still, Fang tries to sound clever, saying that if Leth had actually gone for the divine sword earlier, the match would have ended. No kidding, Sherlock. He then starts overthinking why Leth did not use more efficient methods, guessing that Leth is hiding something else. Instead of shutting up, Fang goes full drama queen and activates his dark shadow under Leth, similar to power of Blackbeard from One Piece. Let's see if our boy can escape this edgy trick, or if Fang is just wasting everyone's time like usual. This dark shadow drags Leth into some weird void, and Fang smugly tells the referee to start the reverse count, flexing that it is impossible to escape. Inside, Leth floats around like a lost balloon, realizing there is no gravity and he cannot see anything. He swings his divine sword, but of course it is useless. Fang mocks him, saying no physical attack will work since everything gets absorbed by the void. Basically, he is wasting stamina until he croaks. Rigel, being the clueless uncle of the group, wonders if Leth has no chance left. Leona, the only one with a brain, interrupts and says there might be a way out. Rigel instantly changes the subject to being a gossip aunt, asking about Sarah's condition. He hears she is fine, just recovering. Then Leona turns on Ralph, yelling at him to re-educate his dumb subordinate Julius, since this mess is partly on him. Ralph agrees quickly, thinking to himself that she is terrifying when angry and that Julius has royally screwed up this time. Anyways, Leona explains there are two ways to escape the void. First is lightning abilities, since they counter dark magic. Fang smirks, assuming Leth does not have them or else he would already be free. She then explains the second method, spatial magic, which can rip a hole in the void. Fang admits her logic is right, but mocks that spatial magic is so rare, even if Leth had it, he would burn through his stamina before escaping. The countdown hits too, and Fang gets cocky again, saying Leth was praised by Princess Iris, but in reality, he is just a useless, jobless bum. But Fang's smug little victory speech backfires. Leth suddenly pops back outside, flexing the same dark magic and sending a wolf straight at Fang while he is off guard. Fang freezes, realizing the jobless clown actually copied his skills earlier when he touched his face. Before he can process his own stupidity, Leth knocks him out cold in the arena. The mighty strategist reduced to another loser who underestimated the jobless. Camila suddenly takes interest in our boy and asks her sweet sister to hand over Leth as her bodyguard, but Iris shuts her down without hesitation. The two exchange fake smiles that could win Oscars for worst acting, while Richard, the clueless dad, thinks they are just having a wholesome sisterly bond. Camila, the snake she is, clearly has her eyes on Leth for her own shady schemes. Meanwhile, in the recovery room, Sarah is getting immediate treatment. One nurse runs out of mana and runs off for help. Claire, who just witnessed Leth's fight, looks traumatized, saying she cannot ever stand against him. No kidding, Claire, you looked weak before and now you are just shaking in your boots. Sarah, on the other hand, gets up from her deathbed like an anime protagonist and yells that Leth has always been a hard worker, so of course he is powerful. She even flashes a thumbs up, only to start aching again because her body reminds her she is still in critical condition. Girl really pulled a Rock Lee moment and immediately crashed again. Leth, exhausted, thinks it was pure luck that he escaped using Fang's ability, and honestly, he is right. Plot armor worked overtime. James, leader of the rebellious party, watches the match with a sly smirk like a puppet master, already scheming how to use Leth for his own benefit. The referee begins back counting, and since Fang never wakes up, Leth is announced the winner. Leth finally lets out his frustration and shouts in hype, celebrating his final spot. Fang, however, gets dragged back to the shadows where James is. Plot twist, the clown was faking the knockout. James calls it bad acting, and Fang gets defensive, saying he is not a performer. James shrugs it off, saying the Eastern Nightly Order's plan is going smoothly, and Leth's victory is just temporary. While Leth is celebrating, his deadbeat dad Ride crashes the arena, suddenly acting proud. The audience gasps, shocked that the former commander of the Eastern Nightly Order showed up now of all times. Richard raises his eyebrows, saying he heard Ride had cut ties with Leth. Iris also agrees, noting that the court gossips had the same story, and she wonders why the old man suddenly appeared. Ride, the hypocrite himself, steals the spotlight and announces that Leth is actually his biological son who has just advanced to the finals. Ralph pretends like he does not know Ride and asks Leona if she knows the track of his record. Of course she does, but Ralph still runs his mouth, explaining how the Eastern Night Order's main role is to repel monsters near the Dark Zone. He hypes Ride up, saying the man single-handedly turned the tide against the disaster-level monster Dark Venom. People were helpless, but apparently, Ride heroically vanished the beast. Ralph even flashes his scar like a war badge, saying if it were not for Ride, he would have been dead. Bro basically turned himself into Ride's #1 fangirl. Ride, playing the good dad act, pats his son's shoulder and praises him, which moves the audience's hearts. Then one fatso in the crowd blurts out that he heard Leth was banished from the family. Ride smirks with his unusual smile, denying it and dropping his pathetic blacksmith analogy, saying iron must be heated and struck repeatedly to forge a fine blade. He keeps yapping about how his son gained the power to protect Princess Iris thanks to his training, and how he now stands as a knight of pride for the kingdom. Iris, not buying this nonsense, thinks the Duke is just using her position to manipulate the people. Ride then pulls out his best forgiving father act and stretches his hand, inviting Leth to return to the Wellesley household. Leth looks surprised and finally speaks up, saying he always lived up to him. He recalls watching his father training, defeating dozens with one blow, and thinking it was cool. He even imitated his father's sword techniques, because he dreamed of becoming a holy knight like him, but instead of crawling back, he bluntly denies the offer. Ride did not expect this rejection, so his face twists in disappointment, and his demeanor shifts into that of a silent villain. Leth does not stop there. He speaks up, saying that although the country may look prosperous and lively, he has always felt a deep discomfort. He points out the injustices rotting the system, the rich strutting around as if they are superior while the poor are forced to crawl through life like insects. Even insects, he says, have their own freedom. The system is crooked to the core because the so-called upper class believes it is natural for them to take food from the weak as their reward. He makes it personal too, reminding everyone that even as part of the Duke's family, he was treated like he did not exist. The audience starts murmuring, saying this is normal, but Leth snaps back at them that the fact they see it as normal is exactly the problem. He calls out this pathetic law of nature, saying it is not nature at all, just corruption disguised as order. Up in the stands, the king and his two daughters watch quietly, carefully listening to every word. Ride finally speaks again, puffing his chest, and declares that the kingdom of Lawrence was once a wasteland crawling with monsters 2,000 years ago, and it was the higher class who risked their lives to save it. Because of that, he claims, it is only natural for nobles to receive privileges, while the lower classes should be nothing more than slaves. This disgusting statement exposes just how rotten his ideals truly are. The audience begins murmuring again, some fools nodding in pride at their ancestors' contributions, while Ride just stands there grinning like a villain who thinks he is making sense. The entire arena falls silent when Leth roars at the top of his lungs, cutting through the hypocrisy. He shouts that Ride is wrong. When it comes to class, there should be no higher or lower, and he believes that God assigns classes equally through a natural classification. He begins panting but continues to argue that he also has a reason for being unemployed. He was kicked out of his house and had to search for a job to survive, but no matter which guild he approached, he faced discrimination because of his unemployment and couldn't find work. He further explains that he started to fear cold stares and, ultimately, felt that those in the unemployed class have no value, causing him to give up. But then, something happened. He remembers sitting cluelessly on a street during a downpour when a girl in a maid's dress with perky elf-like ears approached him and recognized him from their guild. She came closer and asked why he was sitting there soaking wet. Leth stood up and apologized, saying he couldn't find any work, so he just sat there, and now he was leaving. The girl told him not to apologize and took him inside the guild to warm up. Leth sat there, gloomily saying that he was jobless and no one paid attention to him. Suddenly, the girl slid a request paper in front of him, informing him that they had received an urgent request which he might be able to complete. Coming back to the present, he explains everything to them when he is interrupted by Ride's evil laugh, mocking him for thinking he is about to share something important. The man basically exposes himself as a clown, proudly saying that a class unrecognized by God is useless, and its power is absolute, calling it the law of nature. Listening to him, Leth steps forward and says that he respects Ride but can't go back, because his power remains unknown. He is sure that if Ride finds out he is useless, he will just chain him, which is why he is going to walk a separate path. Seeing this, Iris tries to lighten the moment by entertaining the king, saying that Leth is gutsy to put on such a show. The king smiles and admits he is enjoying this because it is entertaining to see how much Iris and Leth resemble each other. Iris is flustered and asks how he knows this, to which the king replies that he is her father, and fathers always know what their daughters are thinking. He also looks at Camilla, who hesitantly nods as well. On the other hand, Ride suddenly swings his sword at Leth and attacks, but Leth dodges and stops his sword with ease. This sudden turn shocks everyone. Seeing Leth dodge him so smoothly, Ride asks where he learned this sword technique. Leth answers that he learned it by watching Ride 2 years ago. Ride acknowledges his effort and the results of his training, but smugly says that, in his opinion, Leth is still immature and will understand it one day. With that, he leaves like a frustrated villain who lost the debate, leaving Leth standing still for a moment before collapsing on the ground from exhaustion, which surprises everyone. Leth gets the Holy Knight class, which makes him happy, but the strange thing is that Ride also comes near him and appreciates him. As he is lost in his happiness, Kite with Sarah comes behind him and looks at him with admiration, saying he is amazing because he himself has no class. Hearing this about having no class, Leth begins mocking him maliciously, saying that those with no class have been forsaken by the gods. The irony is brutal because Leth himself has become what he once despised, and their roles have switched. Suddenly, Leth wakes up on Iris's lap, who calls out to him worriedly. She tells him that he collapsed at the venue, while Leth thinks about the dream and feels bad for becoming like his father in the dream. Realization suddenly strikes him that his head is resting on Iris's lap, so he quickly sits up, but ends up smacking his head on the cupboard. He bows to her immediately, apologizing for using her lap. Iris approaches and grips his chin, oddly saying she wants to touch him more. She is bold enough to play the villainous role in front of everyone, but the mood shifts when a strange girl who has been watching the entire time is revealed to be Sarah. She is sitting on a chair with that dead serious expression like she just caught them red-handed. After a while, Sarah and Iris are sitting across from each other at a table, while Light sits between them, sweating bullets at the suffocating atmosphere. To lighten the mood, he asks Sarah about her health, and she enthusiastically responds that she is completely well now and ready to fight again in the next round. However, her energy quickly drains when Iris casually touches her back, triggering a chain of pain. Iris mockingly claims that she is definitely putting on an act of being strong, but she's broken inside. She then approaches Leth, hugging him from behind and saying she is worried about him because the doctor said he had sustained too many injuries. She asks if he is still going to the finals, and Leth calmly takes her hand, causing Iris to blush like a maiden in a romance novel, and Sarah to look irritated like a sidekick who just got cut out of the plot. Leth, however, remains composed. Standing up, he declares that Princess Iris has always treated him kindly, regardless of his class, because she shares his way of thinking. Iris smiles proudly at his words, while Sarah fumes in silence, which is kinda cute. Leth removes all his bandages, preparing for the finals. Iris hands him his shirt, admitting that it was selfish of her to give him 7th place and make him her personal guard, even though he wanted to save her from the assassins. She apologizes and expresses concern about the resentment he had to endure from both citizens and knights. Leth gets flustered but stops her from apologizing, saying he is grateful to be able to fulfill his duties as a knight because of her. Sarah comes from behind and playfully teases him, saying he is too humble and that now he has to show his cool side by putting on the outfit. For once she acts cheerful, but her tone shifts when she warns him that Julius is strong and he should be careful. Leth calls out to Sarah, who begins dragging him outside, saying that the finals are about to start. He looks back at her, noticing tears in her eyes, realizing she is trying hard to hide them. Meanwhile, the announcer declares the start of the final duel. Julius, surprisingly sitting in the stands, faces Leth, whose battle gear has been completely changed. Leth smiles at the spectators like a true protagonist, while Julius finally stands up with that smug look that screams final boss energy. The crowd goes wild, the tension skyrockets, and then the battle begins. Our male protagonist starts with using Dragon Breath, setting the stage, and is about to cook the arena in Natsu style. Leth uses Dragon Breath, the skill he acquired during the night exam, but that ability consumes a lot of mana, so it seems he's deciding to go all out. His dragons surround Julius, who calmly touches one, while Leth approaches him with his divine sword. It seems he was using the dragon breath as a disguise. Just as his sword is about to reach Julius's neck, an explosion suddenly occurs, and Julius appears unharmed because he blocked Leth's attack with a barrier. Leth is surprised, so Julius explains that this is a crystal formed by condensed ice magic, capable of blocking all his attacks. Leth steps back briefly and then begins attacking him from different angles, which Julius keeps blocking. Sarah discusses with another man that this is Julius's original defensive magic, in which he creates creates magic through his own unique ideas. The crystal barrier is a form of advanced magic, which many knights have attempted but failed. Leth uses stone hands that grab Julius from all sides, but Julius remains unfazed. Leth attacks from above with his fire lance, breaking the stone hands and causing Julius to fall. The announcer starts a countdown, but Leth interrupts, claiming it's not over yet because Julius still appears calm and smiles, suggesting Leth might think he's won. Julius stands up praising Leth, who then realizes Julius is a tough opponent and worthy of being called an Eastern Knight. Julius smiles and asks Leth if he's still hiding his abilities, prompting Leth to consider a strategy. He remembers asking Captain Urs before the semifinals how to defeat Julius. Urs joked he was joking, but Leth was serious. Urs told him that Leth lacks combat experience and that Julius can use 2 skills simultaneously, as he is a double skill user, making it impossible for Leth to fight him on equal footing. Realizing this, Leth understands that beating Julius won't be easy. Urs pauses to think and then proposes a showdown. If Leth wins, Urs will give him his trump card. That's how his training began. Back in the present, as Leth contemplates all this, Julius seizes the opportunity and attacks with a cyclone. Leth steals himself and uses the stone lance to counter, but Julius completely blocks it. A scene from training flashes in his mind when Urs scolded him for getting discouraged too easily. Urs told Leth that for Julius, a match is just a game, he'd use magic for fun. The moment Urs saw Leth lower his guard, thinking he had the upper hand, that would be Leth's chance to strike. Returning to the present, Leth continues trying to close the distance but can't, so he stops and asks Julius why he isn't using his double skills. That's a provocation. Julius takes the bait, combining earth and fire to create a huge golem, smirking as he says, "Now I will show you what I'm made of." The golem attacks Leth, who narrowly dodges. Just when Leth thinks he has a chance, Julius mocks him, saying Leth assumed Julius would understand his tactic of attacking while he was dropping his guard. Julius delivers his final huge attack, destroying the venue and making him seem like he has defeated Leth. But his confidence is shattered when Leth, unharmed, steps forward to attack Julius, surprising him that Leth dodged both fire and Urs magic. Leth steps forward and attacks Julius,